Yep, we're going to talk about it, friends. A lot of you already know, but some of you may not know yet. Trump has been found guilty on 34 felony charges in New York City. This is a big deal. A lot of people are kind of in shock, whether they saw this coming, whether they just saw it coming, but like it's not going to actually happen. Well, it has happened now. Trump has been found guilty of 34 felonies, and that means that, well, we're going to talk about what that means. We're going to talk about why that is absolutely insane. We're also going to be talking about what happens next. We got a lot to talk about. Let's jump right into it. Welcome to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant by trade, and we cover things on this channel that the mainstream media won't cover, or we cover it without all the inherent bias of the mainstream media. So, a screwball jury, directed by an activist judge, found President Donald Trump guilty on 34 felony counts, which could result in him serving up to 4 years in prison or potentially probation. Sentencing will happen on July 11th. Which is just before the Republican National Convention. If he is sent to prison, that may mean that that he won't be able to go to the Republican National Convention to be recognized as the nominee. So you can see how this might be a big deal. It already is a bit of a big deal. Donations to the Republican websites are off the charts right now. If you're thinking about giving to either the Donald Trump campaign or to Republican National Convention or conference, right? You might want to do that in the next day or so. If you're going to do it anyway, doing it now will express your outrage at what has transpired in New York City. All right, let's first start off. I said a screwball jury, and I said an activist judge. Let's talk about that just a little bit. Once again, the judge's daughter is actually fundraising off of this, so that is a clear conflict of interest, which was actually brought up in the trial. But the judge himself actually dismissed that because he said that that's not relevant, even though his daughter stands to make money off the fact that if they find President Trump guilty, which they did. But then this is a jury that has been selected in an area where there aren't Republicans, right? So they went to an area that's just loaded with Democrats up to the gills. And then it's even worse than that. What they did was they then asked them if they knew of anything about Trump. So basically, I would postulate that some or most of the people that are on the jury lied about not knowing what had happened. Either they've been living under a rock and they're just not engaged in politics at all, which is not exactly the engaged citizen that you would want to have on a jury, right? So they said that they knew nothing about Stormy Daniels and any of these things, or even about Donald Trump. So they claim to have been living under a rock. So anyone who was honest on the assessment got tossed, and the people that lied on the assessment so they could get on the jury in a Democrat-run area, yeah, that just kind of tells you the kind of people that are on this jury. The people that wanted to be on the jury in order to prosecute the bad orange guy, right? That's where this is coming from. And that has been made evident time and time again. The star witness of the prosecution, Cohen, who is a lawyer for Donald Trump, got up on the stand and he basically laid out the case that made the connection that these payments were set up in such a way by Donald Trump, like that this wasn't done by somebody else. This was done by him. He orchestrated it. He oversaw and directed it. But during the course of his cross-examination, when the defense got up to ask him questions themselves, they showed him to be perjuring himself even on the stand in the courtroom. Showed him to have lied to the jury. So the star witness was caught red-handed in lies to the jury and admitted that he stole $60,000 in this transaction. In this transaction that he's reporting on and telling on Donald Trump. So basically, President Donald Trump filed incorrect paperwork on $130,000 of his money that he gave to someone. But the guy that stole $60,000 from his organization, not guilty. Wrong paperwork on $130,000 of your money, guilty. Steal $60,000 from someone else, not guilty. That just kind of tells you kind of what's going on here. That kind of insanity is just all across this entire thing. The fact that these charges are just nonsensical charges in the first place, what exactly what the crime was is hard to say. We have other politicians who basically were accused of doing basically exactly the same thing, and yet they've been dismissed without any charges being filed against them at all. And then we come to the jury instructions coming from the judge himself. The judge made a 53-page instruction manual to go to the jury, which is not unheard of. Like this is kind of, juries are given instructions by the judge, but generally speaking, or basically always, they need to be approved of by the prosecution, the defense, and the judge. The defense did not agree to this. The defense did not agree to these instructions to the jury. And yet the judge decided to issue them anyway, which right there is grounds for an appeal. Right there, grounds for an appeal. But it gets better. 53 pages of instructions to the jury, but they weren't allowed to actually receive a copy of the instructions. They had to listen for 1 hour as the judge read to them the instructions without actually giving them the instructions. So they gave it to them by just reading it to them. Again, that's not how that works. They give the paper to them so they can then, review it if they have questions. Nope, that's not how it's been. And then, in just a flagrant all-out, so 34 counts, felony charges against Donald Trump. How it works is basically they need to be like, so I see, felony count 34. I think he's guilty of that. And everyone else goes, yeah, I think he's guilty of that too. You need unanimous on count 34, okay? And then you need unanimous on count whatever else. The judge said that they don't have to agree on each count. What they have to do is they have to agree on at least one count. All of them have to agree on at least one count, but their one count can be different counts. So of these 34 counts, each of the jurors have to agree that they think he's guilty of this one. So there could be one charge where one person thought he was guilty of that and all the others are like, nah, he's not really guilty of that. But if each of those 11, the other jurors, each find one of those counts where they think that he did it, even though the rest of the jurors all disagree on that, according to this judge, they should find him guilty on all counts. And if that sounds stupid, it is. Not only stupid, but illegal. That has been found to be improper, basically, before you can be charged on a count, all the jurors have to agree on that count. And so if you want to charge him with 34 counts, you have to get all the jurors to agree to each one of the counts. So the judge is out there giving illegal orders to the jury. It's just appeal fodder, okay? This is just so set up for an appeal to overturn this, and an appeal will definitely overturn this. It's just a matter of how long it's going to take to get through to an appeal. On July 11th, President Donald Trump will be sentenced up to 4 years, but I wouldn't be surprised if they get sentenced to like 12 years in prison. With the way this judge and this courtroom is operating, above the law and illegally on every way possible, shape, and form, this is a political prosecution through and through. Everybody sees that. Anyone who is paying attention at all sees that this is absolutely a political prosecution. This is a federal election organization that the Federal Election Commission refused to do the charges on. The federal government refused to press charges on this. And yet, New York City decided to charge the president with crimes that are basically federal crimes. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Why wasn't he charged in like San Francisco or, Florida? Why New York City? And why are they charging federal crimes even in the first place? There's so much that doesn't make sense at all here. And yet, it all adds up to the simple fact that they thought they could get a prosecution of him in New York. They thought they could slap the guilty sticker on him before the election, going through this court, going through this judge, going through this jurisdiction. And that's exactly what they've done. And everything is political about this. Donald Trump is not the first to pay off people who alleged stuff against him while he was running for president. If you remember, we've seen Biden has made payments. We've seen that, what's her name? Hillary Clinton made payments to hush up people. This is not the first politician to do this, and yet this is the first politician to be charged, not even at the federal level, but down at a city level? Yeah, that's not how that works. Federal election law being enforced by cities. Friends, it is absolutely bunk, and it will absolutely be overturned in appeal, but that's a long way down the road. And they're counting on that. They're counting on being able to use this against him and even potentially try to get him locked up. If they try to lock him up, Donald Trump has some serious thinking to do. He has been previously offered protection down in Florida. DeSantis has previously said that he would not allow Donald Trump to be extradited from Florida if New York or another state tries to force him to be arrested in Florida and transferred over to another state. That is some serious Civil War era stuff going on, okay? Like, we haven't heard states refusing extradition to other states for a long time. Like, most countries extradite to the United States, okay? So the fact that that a state is saying that they won't recognize warrants for somebody from another state is just about unheard of. So we may see things get really interesting in the coming weeks. If Donald Trump decides not to show up at his sentencing, If he decides to hide in a friendly state that won't turn him over, you may see some serious things happen, and the federal government will then have to decide whether it's going to try to enforce the warrants from New York City. This is big, big stuff, friends, and I know a lot of you are upset, and I am too. A lot of you are just there like shaking your heads, like how could we be here? This is banana republic kind of stuff. And yes, that's exactly what it is. What can we do from here? We're going to have to see things as they unfold. The cards are in the hands of President Biden and President Trump and the judge over in New York City and some of these governors. That's where the ball is right now, depending on what they decide to do. Whether they decide to do anything is going to seriously impact our election and what happens with our country going forward. Best be getting stocked up. Best be getting prepared, because things may go squirrely from here. All right, friends, thanks so much for joining us. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report.